Hey, so I wanted to make another video about the everyone is you pushed out superpower that, I have deemed to be you not caring what other people think. And I made a video about that, got some comments, sort of, I don't want to say questioned, some thoughts about what that means in terms of are you still considerate of other people? Do you still take advice, that kind of stuff. So I wanted to talk more about it since it is a really fascinating thing that I am currently right in the middle of experiencing. I mentioned I had this shift a couple weeks ago where the concepts that I understood about this started to actually form a part of my experiential all the time lens. It was like a big swift shift in my mentality, instantly, like an awakening. And so since then, it's been very interesting. Just having had that shift removed a lot of garbage that was kind of hanging around for me in terms of the way I evaluated myself bounced off of other people. It's really hard to articulate this. My feelings about myself having to do with what anyone else thought, a lot of that stuff just kind of vanished immediately. But then since then, I've been here and there having, as you can imagine, this has brought with it a tremendous amount of peace. And so in the meantime, since then, I've had a few occasions where something will happen and I will feel a disruption in that peace, and then it becomes very clear to me that it is because somebody else's opinion has affected me. And so just to sort of reiterate what I said in my other video, the reason why it makes no sense whatsoever to care about what other people think of you, and by this I mean have an emotional reaction to somebody attacking you, let's say, verbally, to have, or even physically, really, or to have any kind of shift in your direction, to be swayed or moved by somebody else's opinion having to do with you. It's really hard to articulate. There is no reason for that, because if you fully realize and accept that everything outside of you in 3D is a projection of your mind, there's a car sitting here in front of me and it's there. Whether or not it's really there or it is literally imaginary is irrelevant for the point I'm trying to make. When I look at this car, I'm seeing an image of the car, and the literal physical image in front of me is completely colored in by my perception. You looking at this car might see something different. That's just for some object that's sitting there. My experience of this car is completely based on me, the totality of me and what's in my mind. And the same thing would be for you. If we were looking at it differently, if we were looking at it at the same time, we would see the same thing, but it would be different in our perception. And I can never know what your perception of that car is. And that's just an object. Now think of people and how you have all these experiences your entire life that lead you to become the person you are, and to have the opinions that you have, and to have the views on everything that you have, and to see everything the way you see it. Every person you meet has that. And no one will ever experience anyone else's perception. It's just, we are in our own world. We're closed in here, and that's it. There's no meaningful overlap ever. Even if you coexist with somebody and have a close relationship and you feel that their opinion of you is very close to your perception of yourself, you will never know what that person really thinks about you. Never. All you will know is what they say and what their actions seem to mean to you, how you interpret that. It's all you and your interpretation, everything, all the time. And so, therefore, when you realize that you can never, ever know what anything means when it comes from another person, that the only thing you can ever do is interpret things in your own world, why would you put any significance on anything that somebody else says about you? Unless it was going to threaten some kind of objective, I guess, that you wanted to achieve. Why would you care? Like, why would it doesn't make any logical, rational sense from that perspective to care. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have a reaction to somebody attacking you, let's say. You might have that fight-flight response, your heart starts racing and you start trying to come up with something to defend yourself. That's when you get this rational thing going in your mind, where you remind yourself of this stuff, and it eventually dies off. It's pretty crazy. I've been doing this for the last couple weeks. As things, as I've had a reaction, I've been stopping and thinking, I know this is me. I know it's all me, because I know that nothing that person could say is actually about me, because they have no idea who I really am. They have no idea. Nothing that they're saying. They're talking about the projection of me that they see. And somebody that's attacking you, or, that you're perceiving as attacking you, somebody that's doing that is likely not somebody whose perceptions are really coming from a good personal place anyway. That's just a little, that may seem counter to what I'm saying, and maybe I need to go into that more later, think about it more myself first. But, your perception of them attacking you could potentially be completely off too. That's the thing. There's no point in ever caring. So when you get that reaction, you have to just remind yourself over and over again that it's not about you. It can never be personal. It can never be personal. Nobody's in here with you. Nothing can ever be personal. They can think it's personal. They can attack you personally. It's still not about you. It's factually not about you if you accept that everything in their world is their own projection. So the only thing it can do is rile you up in a way that has to do with you. And that's when it's really valuable, is you can say, why did I have this reaction? Did I perceive a threat? Is this person touching a wound? Something that I also think about myself? You can examine it. This is my approach. I'm rational, and it's worked for me beautifully, especially over the last 2 years since I've started intentionally doing this work. Mental work is not a cakewalk, and I've avoided doing a lot of it for a long time. I'm 42 and a half. Till I was 40, I was pretty mentally lazy with this kind of stuff. And it wasn't until I really understood the direct benefit to me from doing it, that I realized, wow, you put in this work and you get 10 times more from it on a daily basis. So it's worth doing. But okay, that was a 9-minute recap of the video that I just did on this. So I wanted to then expound a little bit on, what does that mean in terms of being considerate, or, would you still ask advice? And I think, this really depends. Obviously, you should be considerate of other people. That doesn't mean that I don't care how you feel about this thing that we're going to do together, or, I don't care if you're comfortable or whatever. It has nothing to do with not caring for other people. It's funny, right after I made the video, somebody posted a meme or whatever on Reddit. Maybe it was Sadhguru, a Sadhguru meme, but it basically said, essentially, the ultimate is caring for other people without caring what they think. And that's what I'm getting at here. And so, no, of course you would still be considerate of people. Of course you would still, you know, use your judgment for that, whatever that means for you. And in terms of advice, you know, advice, as long as you understand that, you know, people are always coming from their own projections and their own experience, always. You know, why would you not necessarily seek advice? I don't see anything wrong with that exactly. I wouldn't always seek advice on everything. You know, it gets really tricky when it's, you know, the people you would normally go to advice for, I think, are either people that you perceive as being wise, and you still have to be really careful because they're always coming from, you know, Neville Goddard was coming through his own human lens, and people refer to him like he's the end-all be-all God of everything, and that if he said it, it goes. You know, there's wisdom, but you have to filter it through your own unique direction and experience and intentions and all of that. It may not apply to you all the time. Even very wise people's advice may not be the right thing for you. So you have to really approach advice discerningly, and while keeping in mind everything, you know, that I'm saying here. Everything is somebody else, you know, anything somebody says to you is their own projection. And I think this gets really tricky also when, I think I started saying this just now, it gets tricky when it's like your mom or your husband or somebody that, you know, you have come to sort of accept knows you, or, you know, you've come to agree that, you know, they know you. You know, just because somebody appears to have the same perception of you that you have of yourself, it doesn't change any of this. You never really know what they think. At the end of the day, you know, you can take people's advice and be careful with it, and use your gut feelings and stuff to know whether or not that's right for you, and use your reactions to the advice to go through the process I just talked about. You know, it all comes back to you and what you think about yourself and your situation, essentially. It's, I don't know. Of course, people are still going to ask for advice, especially if it's something you don't know anything about. You know, it's wise to ask for advice, I think. But again, it's all projections. Everybody is all projection all the time. And there's not much more to it than that. But it is incredibly freeing when you realize that your reactions to people are not about them. And their reactions to you are not about you. The more you can realize your reactions are not about them, the more obvious it becomes that it's the exact same thing in reverse. And that's, I think, when you become pretty impervious to the emotional ups and downs brought by other people and their antics and opinions and all that stuff, which for me is just like, it was the next step in the journey towards ultimate peace, which is what I really want. It's definitely challenging in personal relationships, like with your fiance or your best friend or your mom. It's a work in progress. But anyway, I just wanted to address that since somebody left a comment about that that I didn't respond to. So this video is in response to that. And I hope that you got something out of this. Thanks.